Hey everyone, Aaron Bjork here. Excited to be with you here at Build 2022. Today we're going to be taking a look at Azure IoT Central and a little bit more about Microsoft's ready-made IoT solution environment. So we'll spend about a half hour or so here looking through sort of what is Azure IoT Central, why it's important. We'll look at what's included, including a glimpse into our roadmap for kind of the rest of this year. And then we'll talk about how Azure IoT Central is really that foundational layer to create a reliable and connected ecosystem. So looking forward to this. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So first off, what is Azure IoT Central and why is it important? I always think when we start talking about our products, we need to sort of frame them in the context of what problem are they even trying to solve? So I typically think about we should probably define what is IoT, what is the Internet of Things, because that's really the backdrop for this product itself. In its simplest form, the Internet of Things is the moving of data from physical things in our environment into the cloud, into Azure, where we can then use that data from those things to digitally transform. Again, the goal is using data, and that's the pot of gold that you see on the right side of your screen there. Now, as a customer or as anybody that has gone through an IoT journey, we understand that there are a number of stages to that journey. Typically, as you are beginning by connecting things, you're in a stage of just kind of simply improving business processes. Your goal is to connect and monitor these devices, and there's some value that comes with that. You then move into the stage of sort of analyzing and improving. You've got more data. You can use that data to optimize and enhance your products. And then eventually you get to a stage where you can transform and expand. This is really where you're using your IoT data, again, the data from those things in your physical environment, to develop new opportunities, really change your business, really think differently because you have all this new information. Now, we believe and we have seen that the customer value really goes up the further you get along in the journey. So again, our goal is to get to the right side of this picture, into that pot of gold. And so as we start that journey, we typically hop on our bicycles and start pedaling. The challenge that we find is that right out of the gate, there's kind of a hill in front of us. And we find that most customers find themselves sort of riding uphill, getting tired, getting worn out, sweating a lot, and struggling in this journey. So, what's standing in the way? Why is there this hill, if you will, or giant challenge at the beginning of the journey? Well, what we found is we do a number of studies with customers, IoT professionals, talking to them about their journey. We publish a report every year called the IoT Signals. Our third edition was published this last year in October of 2021. It's really an extensive survey of over 3,500 professionals working in the space of IoT, building and implementing solutions. And what we do is we talk to them about their entire journey. We talk to them about where they're at. We talk to them about how far they are along. We talk to them about the technologies they're using. And one of the things that we always find from that is we sort of uncover the challenges. So this slide represents the top challenges that we see from this most recent report. As you can see on screen, almost 40% of respondents say that just technical complexity and technical challenges is the number one issue. That directly relates to 2 and 3, which is a lack of budget and staff and lack of knowledge, because the reality is that most people going through this journey are going through it for the first time. They haven't done IoT before. Again, this is fairly new. And so they're searching for the right solution. They're concerned about security, and they're struggling with all that complexity. So because of that, we sort of, again, find our rider on the journey facing this uphill challenge. And again, it just feels and is often difficult. So here in Azure IoT, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to provide services that minimize those challenges and get the hurdles out of the way and help customers, professionals get over that hump and into the right side of this chart where we know the customer value is higher, where we can really start to transform and expand our businesses and really start using that IoT data. So let's take a look at how we can remove those barriers. And the first thing I want to do is kind of describe If we see all those barriers, like what are they? Why is IoT so challenging? It looks fairly simple when you put it in a picture like this. Things, data to the cloud, transform. Why is this so hard? Well, it's hard for a number of reasons, but we're really going to focus on the cloud infrastructure right now. If you expand the picture, as we just did, and sort of think about things in physical environments on the left, I've got a number of things here listed across a variety of different industry opportunities, whether that's agriculture, consumer, energy, you name it. And of course, using IoT data on the right side. What I want to do is zoom in on the middle. And when we go look at people that have built out scaled implementations, we typically find an architecture that looks something like this. Now, I'm not going to drain this slide. I'm not going to examine every aspect of the architecture. What I want to show you and sort of highlight is there's a lot going on here. There are a lot of boxes. There are a lot of arrows. There are a lot of databases. There's a lot of event processing happening. There's a lot of transformation. There's a lot of infrastructure that's needed to create a foundation for a scaled IoT solution. Now, we find that it's fairly easy to get what we would think of as a proof of concept stood up. You can get devices connected into things like IoT Hub and see that you can get data flowing. But if you want to roll that out into production across lots of environments, across different regions, across lots of different physical places, it gets quite a bit more complex. And many of our customers kind of come back starting to ask a series of questions. They're asking things like, how do I know this can scale? How do I know when I even need scale and I'm going to run out of resources? What about high availability and disaster recovery? How do I ensure that my devices can connect reliably? How do I model all my IoT data? It often comes in different sizes, different shapes. Where do I manage all these physical devices? I've got them all connected, but how do I keep track of them all? How do I manage access to them? What do I do with all of the data? You know, you got to think about data that I need immediate access to, which is that hot and warm data. What about cold storage? And the list goes on and on and on. So as customers kind of bump into these challenges, we in Azure IoT come back and say, we've got an answer for you. The answer is you need an architecture that looks something like this, which means consistent ingestion and provisioning at that front end, a clear data pipeline that includes hot and warm path and connection into a cold path, and then a SaaS-like experience where you can manage all this, including managing your devices, viewing your raw data, executing jobs, viewing and analyzing aspects of that data, and then managing it all in an environment that is available and reliable and sitting on top of a consistent architecture. So that really is the product that is Azure IoT Central. That architecture I was just showing you is IoT Central. We describe IoT Central as a ready-made environment for IoT solution development. What that means is it provides for engineers and for developers a scalable, repeatable, and reliable infrastructure that gets you over that hump that we saw in the beginning, over that kind of mountain of challenges, and on into using your data very, very quickly so that you can go from proof of concept to proof of value and then quickly into production in a scale deployment. So that's kind of the way we set that up. Now, again, the goal is doesn't actually look like a pot of gold on the right. The goal typically looks like integration with lots of other services. So if you think about that right-hand side and all the logos that I've got on there and icons, these are places where we want to start leveraging our IoT data. Within IoT Central, we're going to store some data for you, but the real goal is to move that data on consistently and reliably at scale so you can really start using it, whether that's in first-party applications that we might provide, whether that's through experiences like Power BI and Power Apps, whether that's longer storage solutions like Synapse Analytics, Data Lake, where you can keep that data and start using it. And of course, in a lot of custom scenarios where you're building out your operator experiences, your shop floor experiences, mobile apps, and things like that. So that's the goal, again, is that transformation down on the right-hand side. All right, so let's talk a little bit more then about what is a ready-made environment? I've described this as a ready-made environment for IoT solution development, but what really is that? Well, the way we like to describe it is Azure IoT Central is an PaaS service. So what the heck is PaaS? You're probably familiar with the terms IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. These are typically the terms that we would use to describe cloud infrastructure. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then software as a service. And you can see the definitions that I've got on the screen. If you're building your IoT solution with our IaaS and PaaS services, then you're going to be using a number of the services that you see on the screen here, including IoT Hub, DPS, Stream Analytics, and the like. And you'll be stitching this stuff together. And kind of that band at the top, that orange line, represents the work that you're going to need to do to build and deliver the IoT solution at scale. So you're moving through the IaaS and into the PaaS layer. You're assembling all this and you're operating it yourself. Where IoT Central fits in is it fits in the middle between SaaS and PaaS into a category that's called Application Platform as a Service. What Application Platform as a Service is it is the stitching together of all the things on the left, including infrastructure as a service and a variety of PaaS services. In fact, IoT Central pre-assembles for you over 30 different services under the covers into that out-of-the-box, ready-to-use, ready-made environment where you can go do your IoT development and then roll into production at scale. So we like to describe IoT Central as an PaaS, or an application platform as a service. Now, I want to give you another illustration of what PaaS could look like. So I'm going to use Lego for this example. So let's say that we were going to go build a car out of Lego. And I'm sure many of you did this when you were younger. Many of us probably still do this today. But if you were going to go build a car out of Lego, a completely valid place to start would be at the Lego store, staring at the wall of Legos. And you could go into the various bins and pick from those a set of bricks that would allow you to assemble a car. And if you did that, you might end up with a car that looks something like this. Now, in all fairness, this is a car. I see 4 wheels, I see a windshield, but it doesn't look like a very functional car. It doesn't really look like the car that's in my driveway. And you'll notice that the little Lego figure doesn't even fit inside. There's no roof. It's a convertible, I don't think by design. I think it's just a convertible because we ran out of pieces and didn't really have the scale right. When I went out and built Lego cars when I was a kid, they actually looked probably a lot more like this. Maybe 3 wheels and some wings. Again, this is in some way, shape, or form a car, but it's really not the car that we would want to build or play with. And if you were selling Lego, I'm not sure something like this would sell. So a better approach, rather than picking from the wall of bricks, a better approach is probably to start with a Lego set. And a Lego set is going to almost guarantee that you're going to end up with a result that looks much more like this. A Lego set comes with the pieces that you need. It comes with very clear instructions on how to assemble them. You can still customize it. In fact, it's designed still to be customized, but you're going to end up with a result like this. And I think we think about IoT Central through a similar lens. You certainly can stand at the wall of services that we provide in Azure and build IoT solutions. There's no doubt. But we believe that a better path is really to start as high as you can, or start as high as you can, and really only go as low as you must. So we think it's appropriate to start with that Lego set, which again is Azure IoT Central, that ready-made environment for solution development. And then if you need more, if you need access to the PaaS services or the IaaS services beneath, there's absolutely valid paths to go do that. But we don't believe you should start your journey there, because more often than not, you're going to get stuck on that hill that we talked about earlier, and end up with a Lego car without a roof, or maybe even 3 wheels and a wing. So that's how we think about onboarding. That's how we think about Azure IoT Central and where it sits in our portfolio of services here in Azure IoT. Okay, so moving on. Now that we know what IoT Central is and why it is important, let's talk next about what's included with IoT Central and have a look at what's coming next. Now, the reality is within the product, within the service, there is a lot. So I've got listed on the screen a number of things. I won't have time in today's session to take you through every single one. But what I've done is pulled together kind of a screenshot of each of these experiences with a few slides on the value prop for each. So we're going to walk through these one at a time. So let's start by looking at device and telemetry modeling. What is device and telemetry modeling? Well, what IoT Central does is it provides you full access to a rich catalog of ready-to-use devices. And then it provides you with this ability to actually change or model your devices and the telemetry that comes off of that. In this particular picture, we're looking at a temperature sensor. That temperature sensor defines a set of values. You have control over them here, and you're essentially creating a contract that your device and its firmware can speak directly to the cloud to ensure that you understand this data and can use it in context in your various applications. Our data in IoT Central is modeled using a language called DTDL. That's called the Digital Twin Definition Language. It's an open source language which allows you to semantically describe your device capabilities and the telemetry coming off of those devices. So that's device and telemetry modeling. Now, next up is device management. There's actually a ton of device management capabilities. We obviously provide you with access to the data that's coming off the devices. You can see a raw data view here on the screen where you see data flowing through. But we also provide abilities for you to command those devices, to obviously view a directory of them directly through the UI, and also to run jobs and commands in bulk. So you can run schedules that do device updates, restarts, and interact with any commands or events that you've programmed into your devices. So device management is a huge capability and a huge surface area directly within Azure IoT Central. Next up is 30 days of storage. Now, what that means is that for all of the devices that you have connected directly to IoT Central, we are going to provide for you a hot and warm data store, which includes 30 days of all the telemetry, all the commands, and all the events that happen for those devices. On the screen here, you see a picture of our Data Explorer, which allows you to kind of inspect and zoom in and see all that. I'm showing you a picture of 2 temperature devices, and you can see the temperature readings over a 30-day period. Now, you can zoom in here, you can go deeper, you can inspect. The goal here is to provide you with enough visibility into that data stream so that you can repeatably and reliably at scale move it downstream. We don't think this is where you do all of your business intelligence or all your analysis. But again, the 30 days is provided so that you're just set and ready to go right out of the box, and you can reason over that data and get it into the right shape so you can move it on to the right downstream destinations. We also provide a dashboarding capability. Dashboards are a way to visualize this data. We provide 20 plus built-in widgets, which allow you to create experiences like you see on the screen here, including maps, last known value tiles, heat maps, and the like. And then we have a capability that allows you to create both private and public dashboards. So you can either share those or keep those personal to yourself. As data is flowing through IoT Central, you want that data to move into downstream locations like we talked about. And so one of the core capabilities of the product is a capability that we call data export. Data export allows you to continually move data into these downstream sources. We support blob storage, service bus, event hubs, and the like, Azure Data Explorer, Synapse, and of course, custom webhook endpoints. We allow you to hook these up, and data is moved in a matter of seconds directly in. So when I was talking earlier about the 30 days of storage that we keep, it's not that we move data downstream after 30 days. We're storing copies of it for 30 days, but we're moving it continuously. So it's literally seconds from entering IoT Central, it's moved on into those downstream destinations that you set up and configure. And of course, as you're moving them, you can also transform the data. So we support a really rich data transformation capability. It's done through JQ. JQ is a JSON-based language, essentially, which allows you to do transformations. And we provide you a rich editor here so you can set those up. If you need to change temperature values from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you could do them through JQ. You could also do much more complex transformations as well. And next is what we call event rules. Event rules are ways that you can take action on in different systems when certain conditions are met within the product. So if you have temperature sensors, again, connected to IoT Central, and maybe the temperature gets to a certain point and you want to fire off an email or trigger a process in another type of application, you can do that directly through our rules capability. In this screenshot, you can see that we're creating a workflow in Power Automate to go provide a custom message in a Teams channel. So you can go notify frontline workers or anybody else that might need to be notified when a certain condition is met. So that's the rules capability. We also provide a full REST API. So while I'm showing you a lot of UI that you can do here, you can interact with IoT Central. Using our REST API, we provide full capabilities across the data plane and the control plane. So data plane would be that 30 days worth of data. You can run queries, manage things like that. Control plane would obviously be the devices themselves. And then finally, we provide full customization of the UI. Well, maybe not full, but mostly full customization. You can change the colors on the screen. You can actually change the nouns. So if you're not calling them devices, but you want to call them things or whatever, pumps, brewers, you name it, you can do that. And we give you full security customization as well. So you can tailor the UI to make sure that certain users only have access to certain capabilities, which is really multi-tenancy. Maybe harder to see on this screen, but if you stare at the right-hand side, you'll notice that each of the devices in this list is assigned to an organization. And then what I can do is attach that organization to a certain group of users so I can securely segment all of the devices in my IoT Central application and only give access to certain people depending on the organization or role that they've been assigned to. So that's a great way to have an environment where you have lots of devices, and then you can segment those into secure boundaries for different groups of people. So that's a capability called organizations, and it provides multi-tenancy within your IoT Central applications. All right, so that was a whirlwind. I know I was going really fast, but that's kind of a quick view of everything that's included with IoT Central. There's clearly a lot to dig deeper into here. And what I would encourage you to do is take note of the URLs on the screen here. We have an aka.ms link for IoT Central updates and IoT Central demos where you can go see and watch richer demos on all of this. We update the service every day, but we really ship updates weekly. So there's a constant stream of value coming into the UI, into the REST API, and into the service for you to take advantage of. So I would really recommend that you go check those out and take advantage of learning more through those locations. And then finally, I want to take a quick look at our roadmap for the rest of this year and kind of show you some of the things that we're working on that I want to make sure you take note of. So in the next 3 months, between April and June, we're shipping a number of capabilities. One of the first and most important one is our capability for private link ingress and egress. If you're familiar with private link, you know that that's the ability to put an IoT Central application or any Azure resource into what's known as an Azure private network, which ensures that all of your connectivity in and out is maintained within that network. So we now have full support for private link at both ingress and egress capabilities. We're also building a rich auditing feature, which allows you to see directly through the UI who changed what and when. As you can see, it's a huge surface area. And while we are tracking and recording all that, we don't really provide a great experience for you to consume all that. So that rich auditing capability will ship here shortly. And then the final one that I really want to highlight in this time period is the work that we're doing with third-party industrial IoT partners. There's another session here at Build, which is focused on IoT Central and industrial IoT. I would really recommend that you go check that out because we are doing some fantastic work with all these third-party connectivity partners who have solutions that live in manufacturing and industrial settings. And that connectivity is really going to open up the ability for Central to be used in factory and manufacturing type settings. All right. In July and August, the one I want to highlight for you right away is a new billing model. We have device-based billing today, and we're going to have a new billing capability that's based on number of messages. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but we believe that we're going to be able to provide better prices and better bills, especially at bulk, when you have lots and lots of telemetry running through Central. So we're excited about that. And we've also got a bunch of work going on with the Defender for IoT team to have full support and integration into our UI. So that's another exciting capability. And then finally, later this year, we're planning to expand our data formats. So today we only support JSON on ingest. We'll have more data formats that we support. We're going to do a lot of work on our rules capability to really make that richer and more advanced. And then we're planning to have full support for nested edge by the end of this year. So those are some of the big rocks. Again, we've got lots of smaller things that'll be coming through the system, but I wanted to highlight a bunch of those for you to make sure you saw what was coming on the roadmap. And of course, we're continuing to improve the API as we go. So it's not just, these aren't just UI capabilities, there's full API support as well. All right, so wrapping up, I want to talk a little bit about how IoT Central is a foundational element to create this reliable and connected ecosystem. And we'll look at a quick video from one of our top customers. So let's go ahead and move into that section. So as we were talking about at the beginning, there's lots of industries where you can apply IoT. And again, IoT Central, and that's the little gray circles there with the logo. Our goal is to provide for you a scalable, repeatable, and reliable infrastructure that allows data from all these different types of things and all these different types of settings to move into the cloud in a reliable way. That's really what we're trying to do. Our goal is to get that data into the cloud. Now, once it's there, our expectation is that you're using that data in a variety of ways. And one of the most exciting ways that we see people using it is mashing up that data in Azure Synapse Analytics and Azure Digital Twins to really move from what I would call standalone individual systems into a real ecosystem where that data can come together to truly represent more than just a single scenario, but really represent a full physical environment, a full ecosystem of environments. And then as that data flows into there, we've of course got a number of first and third-party capabilities where then you can take advantage of that. Obviously from our Office suite, Dynamics suite, and then the different capabilities we have in Azure, of course, AI and ML capabilities, but also a number of low-code, no-code scenarios with Power Apps, and then of course, a bunch of partners that are building third-party solutions. So when you think about Central, think about it as being that foundational layer, which is really not just connecting a single instance, but it's really connecting fleets of devices across lots of different environments so that data can come together in the cloud and be used to power digital transformation. That's the goal, again, is to get to that right side of the pictures we've been looking at all day today. So as we wrap up, I want to play for you all a 2 to 3 minute video here from one of our favorite customers, Keurig DrPepper. Keurig is leveraging IoT Central to build and perfect how they brew coffee. So let's go take a look at their journey.
At KDP, we are a beverage company built for modern life. We're building on an already 35 million household base to really optimize the coffee creation process. The first technology platforms we're launching is Brew ID.
Number one for us is making sure that we're enabling the best cup of coffee possible for our consumers. And this is really where connected technology starts to come in. With our new Brew ID platform, this enables us to recognize the individualized cup and the brand and the variety that consumers are brewing. And we're able to bring in the expert recommended settings and making sure that they're getting that best cup.
The first commercially available brewer with this technology embedded in it is our K Supreme Plus Smart. The Brew ID technology really has elements that are both on the brewer, in the app, and in the cloud, to bring, optimized experience for our consumers.
Our new Brew ID platform enables two sides of our business. It's the at-home side of the business, which is focused on our consumer products, as well as the away-from-home side of the business, which is focused on our office/commercial.
We looked at IoT Central as a total solution that incorporated both IoT Hub, which we had extensive experience with, but brought in managed services, a great portal for managing our devices, and a great team at Microsoft to back us up. It would allow our teams to focus on what matters most to us, which is coffee. Connecting 1 or even 100 devices is fairly straightforward, but designing a system that can scale to millions of connected devices in consumers' homes every morning is much more complicated and requires much more investment in both back-end services and development time. IoT Central and Azure overall gave us that.
If I look at what IoT Central enables, it really enables for us in our Brew ID platform scalability, stability, as well as flexibility. It enables us to deeply understand any type of maintenance issues that our products are seeing and making sure that we're pushing out solutions to keep all of our brewers living out in the market.
By leveraging the IoT Central platform, we've shortened our development time by roughly 30% while accelerating our deployment schedules and rollouts of new features by roughly 2x. The IoT Central portal allows us to almost instantly create new dashboards to gain new insights into what our platform is doing at any given time and how to better support our customers.
At Keurig, we are passionate about coffee and passionate about our products. We're revolutionizing coffee creation. This is just the beginning. We're excited to build off our current solution and continue our close collaboration with the Microsoft team to build our future.
All right. Well, hopefully that video gave you a great insight into how Keurig is leveraging Azure IoT Central to support their new and expanding fleet of these connected brewers. And as everyone said in the video, this is a Central really provided for them that secure foundation, which allowed them to go focus on what they do best. When they started their journey, they were building out a full infrastructure on their own using our PaaS services. They quickly realized that there's very little differentiated value there and a lot more that they don't want to have to be dealing with. And that's what caused them to choose IoT Central and has provided for them that reliable, scalable foundation for them to roll out millions of devices on this platform. So very exciting. As we think about all of our customers, we really want them to start with IoT Central. Again, providing for them this infrastructure, which allows you to connect, manage, analyze, secure, and extend in that reliable and repeatable way. As you're getting started on your journey, I would really encourage you to check out IoT Central. We have a great experience which turns your phone into an IoT device. So got a couple of QR codes on the screen that you can scan. You can go find our IoT Plug and Play application, which is in the App Store for both Google and Apple. And what it does is it runs an app on your phone, which allows you to directly interact with Central. You can see data streaming in live. You can interact with your phone, turn the flash on and off, command and control it in some interesting ways. But it's a great example of how complete the platform is. And within just a few minutes, you can have something connected very, very quickly and sort of demo for yourself all of its capabilities. So I'd really encourage you to check that out. So thank you to all of you. I wish you all the best on your own IoT journeys. And I hope IoT Central can be a big part of it and provide for you, again, that scalable, repeatable, and reliable foundation that everybody needs to have a successful installation. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your build. And look forward to our next chance to share with you what we're doing here in Azure IoT Central and Azure IoT. Thanks.